Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to Straight Betting. Like I said, today is Monday the 15th. Gonna quick go over a recap of every bet I placed, show the record and all that. And then after that, we got two Monday Night Football games, so I have one play for each. I'm gonna give a quick little breakdown of each game, and then that will be it for the day. But yeah, like I said, I'm always on the move a little bit. I got work in, about an hour. So I do got to quick get this done and out of the way. So let's just get right into it. As you guys can see, here is the record. So let's quick zoom in a little bit. Where the heck is that zoom button? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So as you can see, JJ McCarthy, that was my Monday Night Football bet. And then this is the next week. I probably should have made that a little clearer. On Thursday night, guys, we split with like the first quarter rushing yards and stuff. On Eckler, literally did not make or lose any money, but just split. Neighbors under 26.5 longest reception. Yeah, guys, that was I think he might have hit that like 5 times. Yeah, I mean the Eagles got nothing explosive going versus the Cowboys, and like nothing whatsoever. I think Smith and Brown combined for like a couple targets. And I think it might be an Eagles offense issue because we all thought the Dallas defense was going to be pretty bad coming in, and they are pretty bad. So, yeah, definitely whiffed on that one. Pittman under 48.5 receiving yards. That gets home. He ends at 40. Daniel Jones, the Broncos defense played terrible, man. Daniel Jones had like 300-something passing yards, but Pittman still stayed under. So I do feel pretty good about that read, given that Pittman was like the highest yarded Colt, and Daniel Jones outperformed his passing line by like 100 plus, and he still stayed under. So I do feel pretty good about that. Chuba Hubbard under. I think he ended up kind of like crushing. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, what the heck? I think he kind of ended up crushing. I didn't think he was gonna get like the down big score receiving work. I thought that was gonna be Rico Dowdle. So what's wrong with that one? Another loser, AJ Brown, over 72.5 receiving yards. That one was just a tough watch, man. I mean, they tried getting him the ball, and they did, but for like 5 yards of reception. It was just a ton of like short slants, man. Philly's offense is really scaring me. They do not look good whatsoever right now. Even Saquon doesn't look super efficient, especially like how he was last year. So a lot of concerns going in Eagle end. I think that, they might be having a Brian Johnson part 2 with Kevin Patullo. I tweeted this out yesterday. He might be one of the worst coordinators in football. He might be, bro. This offense is way too talented to not be able to get chunk plays and stuff. Ramondre Stevenson, over 7.5 first quarter rushing yards. He hit this in 2 plays, the first 2 plays of the game, so that felt good. Pretty spot on with that one, man. They came out, they tried to run it. The Dolphins defense wasn't good. Weird Gibson usage, but Henderson, like I said, I didn't think that – I knew that Stevenson was going to start, so thought that they were going to come out run heavy. Feel actually really good about that bet. I think he crushed this one. I think he might have ended up with like 20 or so, and he just had a really good game overall. Mason under 13.5 first quarter rushing yards. So another thing, I just felt like the starter and backup was flipped, and it was. Aaron Jones started. He got the first 3 carries. He probably wouldn't have even gotten the first quarter carry. Mason wouldn't have. But Drake London fumbled. And then Mason got like 2 first quarter carries. One was for like -1. One was for like 4 yards or something. So that one was pretty easy as well. CMC over 4.5 receptions. I think he had 6 receptions. Definitely passing volume was pretty hot, was really high for the 49ers. So I wasn't expecting that, but so he didn't really have the target share I was looking for, but kind of got lucky on some other factors, and I think he ended with 6 receptions. Montgomery under 1.5 receptions. He only got 1 target. I was pretty spot on with that game, man. I thought that it was going to be a low pass volume, run heavy attack. They would get some spike plays with the Lions playing, or the Bears playing a ton of man coverage under Dennis Allen. And yeah, so he only got one target, 1 reception, but we had under 1.5. And that was a plus 160, guys. So that felt pretty good to get. That one definitely helps a ton. Mahomes over 23.5 rushing yards. That was also another really good read. I'm not going to lie. I wonder how many rushing yards he ended up with. Let me quick look this up. Because Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he had like 60 at halftime, I think. He was absolutely just like running the shit out of the ball. like I said, man, they don't have any weapons. Mahomes was trying to take things into his own hands. Mahomes had 7 for 66 on the ground, so pretty quiet in the second half, but absolutely crushed his 23.5 line. And I tracked it at FanDuel at minus 114, but I got it at plus 115 at no big, and I told everyone else to bet it there as well. So hopefully you guys got a better number than this. These are two late ads that I didn't get to post to YouTube, but I played Kayshon Boutte under 3.5 receptions. I was eyeing this all week, and it kept on getting better towards my favor. But yeah, I listen to this dude named Matt Harmon a lot, and he's like a wide receiver guy who tracks everyone's routes. He went on and said that Kayshon Boutte, he doesn't expect his week 1 to stick because of how he's being used. And boy, was he spot on that, because he had one target. Kayshon Boutte, he's always been a downfield guy. I mean, 3.5 reception line, especially in games where, they should be able to run the ball well. It just felt way too high, and yeah, he only got one target. So this line's going to be at like 2.5 next week. All right, and then the last one I added was Darnell Mooney under 3.5 receptions. I just thought that there was like a lot of potential stuff going against Mooney here. He hurt his shoulder in late July, and he obviously missed week 1, so he just hadn't like played full speed football in a while. He did play 86% of the snaps, so it's not like he was at a loss for targets or anything. He actually had a pretty good target share. Penix only passed the ball 21 times, but the Falcons just ran the shit out of the ball. I'm not gonna lie. Was I expecting that? No, I wasn't. So maybe I got a little bit lucky there. But yeah, Mooney had like really bad splits versus zone too, and the Vikings like ran zone 86%, the highest in week 1. So had to play that. Probably got lucky by the overall terrible pass volume for the Falcons though. So I'll take it. But so yeah, as you guys can see here, plus 5.22 units on the week. Let's make that a little bold. And yeah, very solid 5.22 on the week on Sunday, whatever you want to say, because I didn't make or lose money on Thursday. So yeah, really solid week. We go up here. Wins are now at 22, 16, plus 9.94 units and a 32.7% ROI. So feeling pretty good with the start of the NFL season so far. All right, guys, first play of the day for Monday. I'm going with CJ Stroud to get 10 plus rushing yards, minus 118 at FanDuel. This is like an alt line on FanDuel. Obviously, it's like 8.5 minus 138, but you don't want to be laying juice like that. So, I mean, there's a ton of 10.5s out there. Minus 115 at MGM. I'm sure 365 is around there too. Minus 116 at Caesars. So just don't lay crazy juice on Stroud rushing stuff. As you can see, guys, similar to Mahomes in week 1, not saying this is like an apples to oranges comparison or anything, but or apples to apples with but he had 5 carries for 32 yards. He had 4 scrambles, 11.8 scramble rate in week 1. That was 3rd in the NFL, I believe. He's probably playing against behind the worst O-line in the NFL this year with the Texans. Scramble rate last year was only 6%, so he doubled it in week 1. They're playing against the Todd Bowles defense, who is going to blitz a lot. That's just what Todd Bowles does. Especially, they're going to be sending a lot of pressure with this O-line. I can guarantee that. In week 1 against Tampa Bay, Penix, he had an 8.5-point scramble rate. Last year, Penix, he only had a 3.5% scramble rate. So, guys, obviously, Michael Penix, he does not scramble a lot. And he had a really good, really strong amount of scrambles against Tampa Bay in week 1. Let's see, did Penix even have a rushing attempt? Yeah, Penix had 1 rush attempt for minus 1 yards against the Vikings on Sunday night last night. So I'm guessing that was just a kneel down, obviously. You don't really scramble for negative yards. That's like a sack. So, yeah, it was just a kneel down. So he didn't even have a scramble against the Vikings. So very encouraging seeing how much he scrambled against his Buccaneers defense. Another thing, guys, is that the Buccaneers run defense is really good. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but the Bucs run D looked amazing. They limited Bijan Algier to 22 for 48 on the ground. And if you look at last night against the Vikings, and guys, the Vikings were like the number 1 run D in EPA, or top 3 run D last year under Brian Flores. And if you look here, Bijan had 22 for 143 against the Vikings, and Algier had 16 for 76. So they ran for more than 200 yards, the running backs did. And the Bucs run D absolutely shut them down. We all know that the Texans are not going to have a good run game with Nick Chubb behind a terrible O-line. So I say all that to say, CJ Stroud's probably not going to have designed runs, but more dropbacks, the better. And this should be a spot. The Buccaneers offense is pretty good. But more importantly, I don't think that the Texans are going to be able to run at all. So there should be a lot of dropbacks, and that's what we want. We want scrambles. So CJ Stroud, 10 plus rushing yards. Don't mind like a 20 plus alt sprinkle. Really, really like this one though. All right, next one going over to, and actually, yeah, then we can also check this out too, man. So CJ Stroud, he had 5 rushing attempts. I think I like his rushing attempts over 2. But if we go to, all time for CJ Stroud, rushing yards, and then we do 3 plus rushing attempts. Where is rushing attempts? 3 plus rushing attempts. Yeah, he's over in 18 out of 23. Actually, that's not the right line. Yep, 17 out of 23 now. But still, 3 plus rushing attempts. He's averaging 20 yards over in 17 out of 23. Think that he's going to have a lot of scrambles here. So should have realistically probably only need 2 scrambles to get here. But yeah, I think we get like 3 or 4. So love CJ Stroud rushing yards. All right, next one. Let's go to the Vegas and Chargers. I'm going Jacoby Myers over 59.5 receiving yards, minus 114 at FanDuel. So the Chargers offense impressed me a ton last week. They looked so damn good. They led the NFL in pass rate over expectation. Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen, Lad McConkey, even the tight ends getting involved a little bit. It's just a great receiving core. Herbert's awesome. I think that this offense is really, really good for the Chargers. So Raiders secondary per PFF was like a bottom 3 unit coming in. They allowed Kayshon Boutte to have that like 100-yard game. Drake May threw for a ton of passing yards. Yeah, I don't think that this Raiders defense is good. So basically, I think that this is going to, the Chargers offense is going to create a nice passing environment for Vegas due to game script and stuff. Jacoby Myers, so Brock Bowers, he got hurt last game. He couldn't return. His knee seemed pretty messed up. He didn't practice until Saturday, I believe. So kind of think that his knee issue is no joke. But I am happy that he's playing in this game because it's definitely lowering Myers' yards a little bit. But it's also on top of that, like you have to account for Brock Bowers no matter how healthy or banged up he is. So I do think that having him out there on the field is going to be good just for gravity purposes. But I kind of think he's going to be more of a decoy than he would be at full health. Is basically what I'm getting at. So I think that definitely benefits Myers. The Chargers last week against Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown, say what you want about him, but he's the Chiefs' clear-cut number 1 option right now. They allowed him to have 16 targets, 99 receiving yards, and a 41% target share. So definitely didn't go out of their way to take away the top wide receiver option. The Chargers did not. So 41% target share, 16 targets. That's pretty encouraging. If we go to Jacoby Myers last year, so obviously since last year, he's over in 10 out of 16 games. But guys, last year, I just think last year was such a bad environment. I mean, terrible quarterback play, terrible offensive coordinator play, and was still over 9 out of 15. Now, we saw what Geno could do. Geno threw for like 300 or so yards. He will push the ball downfield. He's just a very solid passer, especially when it comes to, racking up yards. So the Geno Smith, Chip Kelly pairing, I just don't think you can like really understate how big of an upgrade that actually is from last year. And it kind of came to fruition in week 1. So Jacoby was around like a 29% target share, went 10 targets, 8 receptions, 98 yards. Really solid game. Obviously, was definitely in a good matchup against the Patriots, but this is also a game where they did win the game. I think they were up 2 scores pretty like early in the 4th quarter too. So they didn't get any like cheeky passing yards with prevent defense, which could definitely be there. So yeah, the other 2 receivers, Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton, are basically just downfield threats. It's really, I think it's going to be really condensed between Myers and Bowers this year. So yeah, the Chargers, they played like the 3rd most too high, which I think is good because, Jacoby Myers, we don't need him like winning deep or anything to rack up yards and rack up receptions and things in that extent. So yeah, I think it's just going to be, I think it's like setting up really good for Jacoby Myers this year. And, love this game state. Think that the Chargers will definitely put up points. And I think this one could be a shootout, man. I don't know what the over-under is. It's 46.5. Yeah, 46.5. So yeah, I think it's a really friendly game environment, and like Jacoby here. All right, let's go back to Tampa Bay and Houston. I definitely have some thoughts here. So like I said, man, this Buccaneers Week 1 run defense performance just looks way more impressive given how dominant Atlanta looked against the Vikings. So really think that Nick Chubb unders make a ton of sense, like under 51.5 rushing yards. Definitely play that over attempts, I would think. Nick Chubb unders make sense. And then if we go to like the Houston side of things, man, I think so. Justin Watson and Xavier Hutchinson played a lot of snaps. Like if we go to Hutchinson, he was at 68%. Justin Watson was at 56%. The offense looked atrocious. We know that Justin Watson is not a good receiver. Maybe he's like a good blocking receiver or something, but he's not a good receiver. So I kind of think that Justin Watson, in week 2, they have 2 really high draft capital rookies. Higgins was in round 2. Jalen Knoll was in round 3. I kind of think that those guys start to play a little bit more. It just makes no sense for them not to. So I do kind of like a Justin Watson under 1.5 receptions. It's pretty juice, so maybe you'd want to pair with something. And this dude also is just like a downfield receiver. But then I also think that like taking like an alt on Jalen Knoll to get like 3 receptions or maybe like 25, 30 receiving yards, I think makes sense. Just, who would be surprised if like Justin Watson and Xavier Hutchinson, like guys who have done like nothing in their NFL career, like get benched in week 2 or seed snaps to promising young rookies. Like that just kind of makes sense to me. Nico Collins, this is a spot I would like to back him in. I know Drake London had like 15 targets, so they were giving up the targets to the alphas at least. Now, like, London didn't have a crazy big game or anything, but definitely give up some good volume to them. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it, man. Like Stroud passing attempts, just whatever you like. I think that the volume is going to be there for the passing offense of Houston. Dalton Schultz is interesting. So Cade Stover was very involved. They were running 2 tight ends. And that's kind of just another thing for Jalen Knoll, the slot guy. Christian Kirk is obviously still out. They were using a lot of 2 tight ends. So I think that this is just like another thing for Jalen Knoll is that they might start running more 3 wide receiver sets, just given that they don't have Cade Stover. So I think that is another thing. And I probably will go back and like play a half unit on Knoll to get like 20 yards or something like that. So yeah, I just haven't done it quite yet. Just looking into it a little bit more. On the Buccaneers side of things, man, I don't really have any thoughts. I think that this Texans defense is really good. Run defense is going to be good. And Bucky kind of was a little bit underwhelming. I guess the routes, so Rachaad White and Bucky, because Rachaad White just seems a little bit low on the receiving front right here, but he did only play 14 snaps, so maybe I'm a little bit off on that as well. But yeah, I'm just going to be honest, guys. I don't have any Buccaneers thoughts. I just think that the Texans passing offense is something that you can attack. Going back over here, man, like I said, I think that Ladd's a little bit interesting. I do think that they are going to throw the ball a ton and have success doing so. The Chargers are. They gave up a huge game to Kayshon Boutte. Like the outside corners really did not defend well. Keenan Allen's obviously going to be playing the slot most of the time. Ladd can win downfield similar to Boutte can. I don't really think Johnston can. Johnston's like a crossing route type of guy and a yak guy. So even though he is like the 6'4" big body guy who on paper looks like Boutte, I don't know if they're the way that they win is the same. And actually I know that it's not. So you're also kind of buying high on QJ, right? Just he's coming off like a really good game. I think his line is at like 20.5, which is obviously like a terrible line. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there. I think that Ladd makes sense, but don't have a ton of stuff overall. Tyler Conklin unders are a little bit interesting. He did have a good game, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 50 yards. But he was second in routes behind Will Dissly. And I just don't know how many overall targets are going to be going around to these Chargers tight ends, to be honest with you. So I don't just hate like taking a stab at some Conklin unders either. Final thing I want to talk about for these games is the running backs on this game. Ashton Genty, I am a little bit concerned about him. 19 for 38 on the ground is concerning against the Patriots. I don't know if it's him, if it's the O-line, but I wouldn't hate some like under Genty stuff personally, just because I'm not a fan of the game script. The run defense, obviously, the Chiefs are pretty non-existent in the run game, but the Chargers' run defense looked pretty good in Week 1 as well. So don't hate some of that stuff. And then, of course, the last thing I want to talk about is the Hampton Najee split. So obviously, guys, Najee played 12 snaps, only got 1 carry. Definitely expect that to change, man. I think that some Hampton under rushing attempt stuff makes sense. Looks like there's a 14.5 out there at a good book that you can get down at too at Prop Builder. So that definitely is a strong lean of mine. But also, I think that like buying on Najee makes a little bit of sense. I think I'd rather have an attempt line for him. Maybe if it was like 4.5. But I just think that they definitely start to get him a little bit more involved, man. I was honestly, if he never got like popped in the eye with like that firework, I think that he probably would have out-touched Hampton in Week 1. And obviously, like that sounds crazy saying how Week 1 played out, but that's how teams usually rock with these, veteran guys who are established in the league, right? They give them the benefit of the doubt over the rookie early, and obviously, like the eye issue and missing a ton of camp hurt that. But like I would not be surprised if we see more Najee than we think here in Week 2. So that's going to be my final thought on that, man. That's going to do it. Recap what we did. Obviously, CJ Stroud, 10 plus rushing yards. Jacoby Myers, over 59.5 receiving yards. And yeah, guys, that's going to do it. I got to head out of here, quick edit this, get it up. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.